cargo stayed some days, enjoying the hospitality I was at such pains to provide. He suspected somewhat of my torment, I do not doubt. I saw it reflected in his kind, homely face. At length, he left without pressing me, his apprentice Carmilo in tow, bound for Aragonia. I was left alone with Jacqueline and my decision. We had been happy in Montreuil, he and I, especially he, raised in the mountains of Cioval. I know what it cost Jacqueline to bind his life to mine in defiance of his Castline vow of obedience. Let the courtiers laugh if they will, but he took his vows seriously, and celibacy not the least of them. D'Angelines followed the precept of blessed Eloa, who was born of the commingled blood of Yeshua ben Yosef and the tears of the Magdalene in the womb of earth. Love as thou wilt. Alone among the companions, only Kushiel abjured Eloa's command. Kushiel, who accepted damnation to remain celibate and steadfast at Eloa's side, the perfect companion, reminding the one God of the sacred duty even he had forgotten. These, then, were the vows Jacqueline had broken for me. Montreuil had done much to heal the wounds that breaking had dealt him. My return to the service of Nama, who had gone freely to Eloa's side, who had lain down with kings and peasants alike for his sake, would open those wounds anew. I told him, and I watched the white lines of tension, so long absent, engrave themselves on the sides of his beautiful face. I laid out my reasoning, point by point, much as Delaunay would have done. Jacqueline knew the history of it nearly as well as I did myself. He had been assigned as my companion when Delaunay still owned my mark. He knew the role I had played in my lord's service. He had been with me when Delaunay was slain, and Melisande betrayed us both. And he had been there that fateful night at Trois-le-Mans, when Melisande Charazai had escaped the Queen's justice. "You are sure?" That was all he said when I had finished. "Yes," I whispered the word, my hands clenching on the rich sangois folds of my cloak, which I held bundled in my arms. "Jacqueline." "I need to think." He turned away, his face shuttered like a stranger's. In anguish I watched him go, knowing there was nothing more I could say. Jacqueline had known from the beginning what I was, but he had never reckoned on loving me, nor I him. There was a small altar to Eloa in the garden, which Jacqueline Friot, my seneschal's wife, tended with great care. Flowers and herbs grew in abundance behind the manor-house, where a statue of Eloa, no more than a metre tall, smiled benignly upon our bounty, petals strewn at his marble feet. I knew the garden well, for I had spent many hours seated upon a bench therein, considering my decision. It was there, too, that Jacqueline chose to think, kneeling before Eloa in the Castline style, head bowed and arms crossed. He stayed there a long time. By early evening a light rain had begun to fall, and still Jacqueline knelt, a silent figure in the grey twilight. The autumn flowers grew heavy with water, and hung their bright heads. Basil and rosemary released pungent fragrance on the moist air, and still he knelt. His wheat-gold braid hung motionless down his back, runnels of rain coursing its length. Light dwindled, and still he knelt. "My Lady Phèdre?" Richeline's concerned voice gave me a start. I hadn't heard her approach, which for me was notable. "How long will he stay here, do you think?" I turned away from the window that looked out at the garden loggia. "I don't know. You'd best serve dinner without him. It could be a good while." Jacqueline had once held a vigil, snowbound, throughout an entire scaldic night, on some obscure point of Castline honour. This cut deeper. I glanced up at Richeliine, her open, earnest face. "I told him I am planning to return to the city of Eloa, to the service of Nama." Richeliine took a deep breath, but her expression didn't change. I wondered if you